Salvo 25. Current proposed carbon capture methods will not work long term. They cannot. Why not? The waste involved is harmonious with human growth glorification principles. These principles have been ruthlessly destroying the planet's life over the past 100 years. Such raucous melodies must cease until the pony bus is a fait accompli. In addition, the contemporary proposed sequestration as carbonates in injection wells is cruel. It is almost as cruel as a short time ago when toxic waste cleanup firms put toxic waste out of sight in similar injection wells. The ignorance and stupidity of such behavior is obvious. It poisons groundwater for every living thing. It also did nothing towards saving the other creatures on the planet from human depredation. We are all connected. Without other creatures and plants, we cannot long survive. Weaknesses inherent in non-pontibus solutions neglect our also-rans. They also waste far too many other resources concomitantly. Burying valuable carbonates in a hole to solve our carbon problem does not make entropy happy. It does not make the friendly microbes happy. The amount of energy needed to sequester carbon in such a manner is non-sustainable. It's a measure taken so that we might continue raping the planet. How have big dynastic bankers, the owners of the Federal Reserve or the military-industrial complex, become so rich? They made money on lent funds 4 or 5 ways more than just the gain from simple interest. Burying carbonates in a hole is analogous to ignoring those other ways of making money from loans. Throwing magnesium carbonate in a well and letting it stay buried there will not work long term. It doesn't do anything about growing and preserving habitat. It does not clean up pollution or pay for the energy used in the sequestration process. The Conchiolin method of carbon-fixing tetrahedrons will not only fix carbon inexpensively, but it will make a building material, calein. Calein will provide habitat and hundreds of other highly lucrative benefits. The disorder in their creation will satisfy greater thermodynamic requirements. Mining today is generally considered a necessary evil. It's a great way to waste energy while polluting the environment. Suppose Rio Tinto knew that the carbon-fixing bridges would provide the valuable metals and minerals they mine at a fraction of the current cost. Suppose they also knew that they could gain these economies without the spent ore dumps, pollution, and huge drain on the planet's fossil fuel supplies. Would they be interested in these methods if robots and artificial intelligence did the work while still giving essential employees a decent livelihood? Of course. How can all this be realized? Well, conchiolin is a scleroprotein made of filamentous array of carbon tetrahedrons. Once it leaves the producing muscle, the protein encounters tetrahedral carbonates, calcite, valerite, aragonite, etc. in seawater. It gobbles them up. Aragonite, mother of pearl, in those carbonate assortments is octahedral. An octahedron is an economical way of attaching 4 tetrahedrons. It is rudimentary, redundant tetrahedralization. Pearl farmers might be interested in making South Sea pearls out of this protein. I built a pearl this way once. A Kingston Pauls and an obscenely rich man extorted it from me in 1987 along with its producing organism. Mad with fear of genetic engineering's potential, they did not know what they were doing and destroyed it. Just one more example of how mistaken people are if they believe they can be saved from extinction by trusting in Powell's, billionaires, and outdated ideas. We must save ourselves with intelligence and conscious will if entropy allows our survival at all. The cellular structure of the mollusk's mantle exudes conchiolin. This plastic-like scleroprotein absorbs carbonates and becomes hard. It gets hard enough to resist the carbonic acid in seawater. Thus, it takes the acid's anhydride, carbon dioxide, out of circulation in the ambient milieu. Now more carbonate anhydride can dissolve in that used seawater that surrounds the mussel. As carbon is taken out, more dissolves. That is taken out in turn. Tetrahedrons like African ivory medicine balls are redundantly tetrahedralized. They become octahedrons, dodecahedrons, icosahedrons, etc. These form the booms and piers necessary to construct the great bridges. What is necessary is to find a special way to extrude the conchiolin into aragonite. Carbonates must be prepared in preformed, redundantly tetrahedralized piers. It won't be easy. It may be necessary to first extrude the conchiolin into molds before it encounters the carbonates. Some brilliant scientists will discover the answer to that question someday. Making aragonite in larger conformations and ever smaller tetrahedrons is a sine qua non of our objective. We must augment the biological purposes of conchiolin. Instead of being used only for muscle protection and formation, we will use it as our own building material. It is at this point where we can economize with mining. Engineering changes. Conchiolin can be used as a mining tool. Super-mollusks, mantle cells, will solve mining problems like large energy expenditures and environmental pollution. Fixing carbon and creating beautiful tetrahedral structures are our main interest. But as conchiolin removes the carbonate anhydrides from hypertonic calcium seawater, the seawater becomes neutral or hypotonic for calcium carbonate. It is like an iceberg melting into seawater. That hypotonic solution will now be more avid to absorb carbonic acid salts. Miners can use calcium carbonate-deficient hypotonic seawater to wash rock ores of their metal-captivating carbonates. Many carbonate salts are not very soluble, and the rocks dissolve slowly. Like coccolithic algae, golgi, conchiolin picks out the dissolved calcium carbonates. The White Cliffs of Dover are proof as to what the process can do if given its way. Repetitive ore washings and removals will ultimately expose and purify the nearly insoluble platinum, palladium, gold, silver, nickel, copper, lithium, etc. These heavy metals will precipitate as dark sand. They can be recovered after the calcium has been installed in our tetrahedrons. So a byproduct of calcium and magnesium carbonate extraction for our calein is the purification of valuable minerals from their ore carbonate contamination. Thank you for your kind attention.